Hello and welcome to Pixels and Points. Today we've got a lot of special guests, but first I want to introduce our media director, Matt Nelson with Red Rock.
And with me, of course, is Susie Brown, our media buyer planner extraordinaire. And with us, we have two friendly faces from Basis. And I'll let y'all introduce yourselves. We've got Katie.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, my name is Katie. I am the customer success manager for Red Rock at Basis. We are an ad tech platform, and Red Rock utilizes us for programmatic advertising, mainly running programmatic media. So we'll be covering what programmatic is today and some targeting strategies that you can deploy and pitch to your end clients. And ways we can set up for success, but I'll pass it to Carson before we dive into that.
Perfect. Thanks, Katie. Hey, everyone. Carson Bodnarick with Basis. I'm an account lead, so here to help with day-to-day questions, any sort of sales enablement type questions that might come up, and just helping Katie overall. So great to meet everyone.
All right. And from our side, Katie at Basis and Basis overall helps us with a lot of our programmatic needs and keeps us up to date with a lot of the new stuff and everything going on in the industry. So I guess we can just jump into what most people that get started in advertising, they're doing advertising themselves maybe, and they need an agency or they need some extra help. They're like, what is programmatic? They may know search, they may know Facebook and maybe a little bit of TikTok and some other social media, but they don't know streaming. They don't know, other programmatic options that are available. So this is kind of a good primer to help out people figure out what is programmatic. So I'll let y'all start it off with the slideshow and just let us know.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Yep. So like Matt said, we'll kind of be walking through what programmatic is, those common tactics that we see deployed in programmatic, and how you guys can arm yourselves with questions to ask clients, and just ways to best prepare Matt and Susie and your media team for your media buys in the future. So we can go to the next slide. Perfect. Thank you. So what is programmatic? This is a very high level definition of programmatic buying. It is a term that represents the automated technology that enables media buying. So like Matt said, there are different channels that you can execute with media. So there are search, that's your Google search terms, your Bing, where you're typing in words to figure out what's in my area, what's a dog shop in my area. Those are your search channels. We have social, like Matt said, TikTok, Facebook, all of those things. And then we do have programmatic, which is where we'll be focusing today. And programmatic is that automated technology that allows us to place our media across inventory online. So that is executed with real-time bidding. We won't get into that full definition or that ecosystem today because it is quite granular. But real-time bidding, that is how we do our programmatic advertising at Basis, and how this is run here. So just high-level info of that if you guys are getting questions on what programmatic is. And next slide, Susie, we will kind of dive into what that really means. So historically, before there was programmatic media, and you guys might be very familiar with this type of buying, you would
back
get
in the Stone Age,
Yes, back in the day. I was going to say, Matt, Susie, if you guys have a year to date us for that, I don't.
back in, I think when we first started doing digital was probably around 2005.
Okay.
I first started buying like display ads, but that was like directly to a company, and it was not targeted very much. It was very broad. But yeah, everything else, TV, radio, cable, not broadcast, billboards, print, everything else was exactly this way.
Yep.
Exactly.
That traditional umbrella now. Yep.
Yep, exactly. So everyone that may see this call, Matt and Susie this was their old way of executing media buying. You would set up a bunch of deals. You would have Matt and Susie, you guys, Red Rock, as the advertisers and your clients. You'd reach out to a publisher directly and say, hey, this is kind of the type of audience that I want to hit. can you place some media that will like maybe hit
Yeah.
this type of audience? So that was the history of like media buying before programmatic.
It was as bad as having to do market research about like, this is the kind of things that these people are interested in. Let's go look up those websites. Let's call those people that run those websites. Let's see if they can actually do any geo targeting to the specific area we want to hit. And it's not just the whole US or just their whole website, and try to place an ad in there for 6 months or in a rotation or something like that. And this pray that you get the impressions that you're buying and that you're hitting the right people. And it was a data tracking nightmare. You just had to, cross your fingers.
Exactly. So lots of difficulties with this process and a lot to manage as well. Tons of IOs to manage, tons of like targeting things to remember and keep track of. So there's a lot of technology that has advanced. Perfect. Thank you, Susie. In our space that enables us to use programmatic media. So again, this is kind of just an overview of what our system looks like now. You still see that advertiser agencies like Red Rock. You see a DSP now in between. Well, you see DSP Exchange and SSP between those publishers and the advertisers now. And that's where Basis comes in and helps you out. So Basis, again, in this chart, we are kind of that DSP person holding up their sign, helping you guys out, doing your bidding for the media to win the inventory that is placed on those publisher sites where, again, on the far right, your audience is browsing. So it's just an expanded ecosystem that we work in that is tech-based and allows programmatic media to run. And really the benefits here is it allows us to go after your target audience without siloing out your media to very specific publishers. So Susie, on the next screen, there is a great example of bringing this all together, right? So historically, if I were someone looking to run media targeting males interested in sports, maybe I'm going to ESPN because I know that's a big sports publisher. I know a lot of their audience is probably male sports enthusiasts. So again, in the past, maybe I go direct to ESPN, I set up my media, ESPN is now delivering those ads to hopefully male enthusiasts, but it could also be targeted to Katie, checking in on how the abs are doing. Not great, by the way. They're 0-4 at the start of this season. We'll get there. But I could be browsing and get my ad that might be meant for a male target audience, right? So the steps that programmatic can help us with, again, is kind of going after that target audience. So on the right, we see instead of going to ESPN, we're more so focused on our audience. And now with programmatic, we have a ton of publishers that we can reach who are opening up their websites and inventory for our advertisers to place their media on. We are then able to connect behavioral data, websites data, and tie in the targeting there to ensure that our impressions, our ads, are getting in front of our target audience more frequently than they might if we were doing a direct IO type of buy. There's places for each of these types of buying for sure in your marketing mix, but programmatic really allows us to get in front of our audience at a much broader scale. And the biggest thing, at a more cost-effective rate than going direct or some of those traditional channels as well. Very nice complementary piece to your marketing mix. And it just allows us to hit our audience in different ways. So Matt and Susie, is there anything that you guys wanted to add specifically for Red Rock on this slide that I might have missed?
No, this is a very good overview. I know a lot of the direct publishers have integrated a lot of programmatic kind of tactics into people that go directly to their site to buy. So, I mean, it's when you're going to ESPN, you're, like I said, you're not just buying the entire group again. They can actually narrow it down. But then again, you're just on ESPN. Like you can say, I just want men, or I just want women, or I just want this age range, or this or that. And you can do that just on ESPN, and then they'll want you to be on other products of theirs too. But we've seen a lot of success with, trying to go where the user is rather than just focus on the contextual. And, we try to do a mix of both a lot of the times, and it helps out.
Yep. And from just a media efficiency standpoint, I mean, my bottom line is always going to be the client's bottom line. There's so much less waste, right? You're not getting all those extra impressions you don't need. So you're able to make really, really wise decisions with your client's dollars.
Perfect. Thank you guys. And the one last note from y'all's tidbits, which is why I always like to ask you guys to contribute, is it makes me think of other ideas as well. Just the ability to get that wide reach, to Susie's point, at a lower cost can help us funnel all of our marketing funnel opportunities. So as we are getting a broader reach, maybe that will funnel our upper funnel marketing audience and pull them into the marketing funnel, maybe for our other channels like your search and socials that tend to do really well in your lower funnel marketing strategies. But programmatic is a really great tool to increase your reach on audiences, and allows us to follow the data of where your audience is.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. So that was just again, higher level overview of programmatic and what that is. And now we'll kind of talk about some of the common targeting tactics that we see, the formats that you can deliver, and some of the devices too. So this will be a little bit of a quicker note, and this is quite a small screen. I apologize. But there are a lot of tactical strategies that you can execute with programmatic. So like I said, brand awareness is a great fit for programmatic. We do have what we call prospecting, and that is really where you can just set your geo. For an example, if we have a new market launch or a new store location, or for Fearworm, I know we do a lot of advertising for those haunted houses and specific geos. Prospecting really is geo focused, and you are just getting awareness out about whatever it is that we're advertising. So limited targeting there, but again, really good to increase your audience pool that can help funnel users to your retargeting audiences and increase interest and consideration of whatever it is that we're advertising for. So listed on here, I don't want to go through every single tactic on the screen. It will take us too much time, but I'll call out some of the ones that I see most commonly used. And then Matt and Susie, if you find any, or if you see anything that I missed that you love to execute, feel free to call me out. But the audience and third-party targeting, that is a huge one. We see that in almost all programmatic buys. Third-party data, that is what allows us to capture users' behavior online. Everyone's going to be bucketed into different types of segments. Myself as a user, based on my behavior, obviously bucket into female, millennial age range, we'll say, interested in sports, perhaps outdoors enthusiast, like those are all types of targeting segments and data that we can deploy on our programmatic marketing campaigns to ensure that we are targeting people that fall into those segments based on their online behavior. So targeted audience targeting is a very common tactic we see utilized in programmatic. A second very common strategy is contextual targeting. So as opposed to targeting Katie Donahue at basis, outdoor enthusiast, blah, 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 we could look at doing contextual targeting where I'm saying I want to place my ads on content that aligns with outdoor activities. For an example, maybe Katie is browsing that. My frame of mind to take interest in that ad is much higher than if you are using behavioral targeting to target me for an outdoor ad, but I'm actually browsing on DSW, for an example, because I have heels I need to buy for a wedding. My frame of mind is very different there. Maybe I get targeted an ad while I'm on DSW and I see it. Maybe I also get targeted on contextual, where I'm browsing my outdoor activities and I see that outdoor ad.
Yeah, where we like to look at for contextual is for when we're doing things like streaming or something like that, where it's a little bit more of a brand focus, top of funnel kind of a feel for it. It's where we're trying to hit, people who are currently watching football or like sports or like this or like dramas or like this specific channel, stuff that where we know we've done market research when we've done like cable TV or that kind of thing, and we know what kind of programs they're going to watch. We'll go in there and we'll make sure, we're on this kind of programming. We're on that kind of network, that kind of thing where we can do contextual. And we've seen a lot of success with it doing that way because when you went and we didn't get into the third party, but when you get into data that's generated and you're talking about doing stuff over a CTV, the CTV is like usually the whole house video. If you're saying like, I just want to be on the television. So if we could be a little bit more contextually targeted with somebody that's sitting down to watch TV, it usually looks like it helps a little bit more than trying to do a third party for that. But third party works great. The data, the behavioral targeted data, like you were saying, you're a hiker or you're outdoors or something like that. Doesn't matter what sites you're on. If we know that that's who you are, we want to target you with the right kind of ads. So you may see, say on a CNN news site, you might see an ad for camping gear or something like that, and that's because the system has decided that you are a camper, which that's me, because I just went on a camping hiking trip and I keep getting served a bunch of hiking stuff on channels that have nothing to do with the outdoors. So
Yes.
it's that kind of stuff. This is all very big brothery stuff, but I'll let you keep going.
Yes. Yeah, and to that point, actually, Matt, that was a perfect segue into my next point, is the site retargeting aspect of programmatic is a huge benefit. So that is included in, again, majority of my campaigns that I see ran, but essentially what that means is we're able to place pixels on your client websites and capture audiences to retarget. Why that is so beneficial, it's users that we know are coming to your website, whether that's organically because they've sought it out themselves or they've seen an ad that Red Rock is running and they've landed on the page where we're starting to track an audience. We can retarget those users with our programmatic ads as well, across formats too, which we'll get into. But really great use of programmatic and getting back in front of users that are coming to your site. So Matt said he was on a camping trip. He might have been searching some hiking routes.
I did lots of last minute shopping. Yep. Out there, I had to buy some much more lightweight chair, a lightweight tent, because and I still was dying, but I had to buy some of that stuff, so I was researching it. But yeah, I'm getting served now.
Yep.
So that's for extra stuff.
Now, yeah, for anyone watching, I always use DSW actually as my example, because if I go and look at a shoe, that shoe is going to follow me around the web, like all of my browsing.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, until I need to buy that shoe. So really great conversion strategy is the site retargeting aspect of programmatic. You see really good engagement on those types of strategies. And again, you're targeting people that we know are interested because they've been to your client's site. So site retargeting is a huge, huge strategy used in programmatic. It also is really great to help you silo out your own audience data, which maybe we can cover in another Pixels and Points in the future. Perfect. And then one that I just wanted to highlight as well is CRM targeting, mainly because I think that's such a valuable question for sellers or more end client roles to be aware of. So CRM targeting, if you're having conversations with your end clients, ask if they have any type of CRM data. That can be a huge benefit to a programmatic buy. Some examples of that, if we're looking to increase brand awareness or increase awareness on a new audience, we would exclude a CRM list because those people are already clients or have used our service in the past. Flip side, if we're trying to heavy hit our client list with a promo or a new event coming up, we would target that CRM list as opposed to excluding it. So CRM data, having those conversations with your end clients is really helpful. And basically the discovery piece, which we'll talk about, is really helpful for Matt and Susie's team when it comes to setting up media plans and buying. So we'll touch on that, but wanted to just touch on some of the common strategies I see deployed. And yeah, Susie or Matt, or are there any on here that you guys wanted me to speak to?
There's two fun ones. One I'll dive into, but the other one I won't because it's a big one. Is that all the mobile IDing and hyper local stuff that we can do now to help out smaller businesses. That's come down from the bigger boys, but like you can target people that have been to your competitors. You can target people that have been to your location with updated menu items or things like that, and it's really interesting. The other one is the weather triggered ads. I love.
Me too.
I love it as in it's fun because you get to be a little bit more specific with your creative when you're doing this. Like we've done some stuff for a AC repair. We've done stuff for home gutter installation company and one for like an events kind of thing. Like this can work for all sorts of different stuff. Like for the gutter one, it's when it rains. That's when you notice I call them the gutter lines along your house where the rain falls off your house and makes that rock line. Like they can really sell that on their ad and say like, do you wish you didn't have this on your house? Get some gutters. But then the other one is like the events. It's like when it's raining, or if it's over 100 degrees, they're like, come on inside and have fun with your kids at our event, at our family event place and things like that. So it's timely on with those weather triggered ads, whether it's raining, whether it's too hot or going to be too cold, like come on in, we're having fun over here. Or if it's really nice outside, you can say you're having a nice, and you can change it depending on what the weather is, the different creatives. So it's made our creative team feel a little bit better when it comes to that, and it helps any client that has something like that really stand out when their ads are running. So that's what I think that one's fun.
That is a fun one. And the competitor conquesting. Thanks for calling that one out. Lots of things we can do for that.
Yeah, we can get a lot really deep into all the mobile ID, competitor conquesting, hyper local targeting, all the kind of fun stuff that we can do now with mobile IDs and things like that. But I think we can keep going. Let's keep this moving.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. This one will be a quick touch point on this slide. Just a very short, like concise page of the different formats and devices that you can tap into with programmatic. So display, like Matt mentioned, really, really common one. If you think of any banner ads that you see while you're browsing ESPN, New York Times, display ads. Online video, OLV, pre-roll, mid-roll, they're kind of all synonymous there. But while you're watching any video content, an ad pops up before that video content, in the middle, or after. Examples of online video there. OTT, this is a very, very, very hot format in programmatic in general. So OTT is a type of format that you can deliver to streaming devices that's streaming video. So think of if I'm on my desktop watching Hulu and I have ads there and I get served an ad before my content starts, that's an over-the-top format, a type of video that I'm viewing while streaming video content. So I'm connected to the internet, I'm going over the top of cable, and I'm connected to a device where I'm streaming.
Right to get that changed, please.
I know.
That's such
I just think of it big screens, like, little screens.
That's like IAB vibe. Yeah, that's an IAB ask that we need to go to and be like, who came up with over the top of cable?
Well, I mean, we changed the name of online video. It used to just be pre-roll. Like that's what everybody calls it. And now it's OLV.
I know.
Because everything has to be a three-letter acronym, of course.
Everything is a three-letter acronym in media. Yes.
Anybody that's coming into this fresh, you're just like, well, how are you doing on your OLV and your OTT and your
CTN versus your BT
and your CRM and your VCR? How is your VCR doing? Like, well, I got my VCR. I sold it to Goodwill the other day. Now your completion rate, like it's just
anyone watching this call, the presenters on this are very familiar with all types of acronyms. So if you guys ever see a wild acronym, hit up this team. Maybe we'll be able to help come up with what it is. But you might note that I have CTV kind of indented under this because there's a lot of confusion with these two words, acronyms, three-letter things. So OTT, again, over the top, it's inclusive of smaller devices that are connected to the internet for streaming. So for an example, if I'm streaming Hulu app on my phone watching and I get an ad there, that's an over-the-top placement format. CTV is the type of device where we can deliver an OTT format. So CTV is your large screen TVs, your smart TVs.
And Katie, where does FEP come into this?
Oh gosh, free episode player, Matt. Trying to put me on the spot. I don't know.
FEP, full episode player. It fits underneath OTT, but it's not CTV, but it can be CTV. It's content that you could get OTT that's like full episodes, like full TV show episodes or movies or something like that. But it's not like the outdoor channel might have some shorter content, like 10-minute content or something like that.
Gotcha.
That's not full episode player, but you can watch outdoor TV on your OTT television or CTV or your whatever. It'd be considered CTV, but it's not FEP, and it gets a little bit
in the weeds. Yes.
It's all mixed together.
Yes, again, anyone watching this is why we have these types of calls where we can just arm you guys with the high level info that you need. And then once it gets to Matt and Susie and like we're setting up programmatic buys, we'll be just like figuring out what it is that your client is needing and desiring and we'll execute
most of the time,
what you've sold.
Yeah, most of the times we like to keep it simple. If we're doing CTV, it's basically we tell people CTV, what we're buying is you're seeing Hulu, you're seeing Disney, you're seeing Peacock, you're seeing Pluto. It's your television shows that you're watching on TV, like you're watching TV, but you're not on cable or broadcast anymore. It's that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
exactly.
Anyway.
Perfect. Yes. No, I know. I was like, I'm going to put it on there. It's going to lead to a combo, I'm sure. And that's what we're here for, are these combos. So the next one on here is streaming audio. So think of you're listening to your Spotify's, your Pandora, you're listening to your Patreons for podcasts. Patreon's ad-free, sorry. But where you're streaming some podcast inventory. And then radio stations that you may also be streaming. So if you're on iHeart.com, for an example, listening to your music that way, we can place your audio ads alongside streaming audio as well. Seeing a very big increase in a trend in streaming audio placements as well, specifically podcast.
Yep.
Native is another type of format. You guys probably see these all the time if you look at a lot of news websites. Those are just a type of creative that blends into the page. So it is more text heavy. You really only have one image and maybe your client's logo, and then there's copyright. That kind of looks like an article title with a little blurb. The biggest thing to note here is they all say like sponsored or paid. That's how you can tell it's a native ad there, but it blends in really easily to the page, to the content that a user is viewing. Then we have digital out of home. You might have seen these, like think billboards, think your point of purchase screens in shops that you see. Think of those TVs that you see at bars that just have things rotating through, or at bus panels. All of your out of home inventory, a lot of that is being digitized. So we're able to tap into that with programmatic ecosystem and deliver digital out of home placements as well. And then finally, those devices on the right side of the screen, desktop, mobile, tablet, and connected TV is in there because technically that is a device that we do deliver to. It's not a type of format. It's the device that we're hitting and we're delivering an OTT format to a CTV device.
Yes, the TVs have broken out as their own devices outside of
yes.
They've become a new
Exactly.
one. Any idea what the next device might be? Is it going to be, do you think any of these like reality kind of things are going to be?
I've been wondering that. So VR is actually, that's already starting, like in-game ad placements for like the big names, like a Coca-Cola. If you're VR video gaming, I think it's, I'm not a gamer, so apologies if anyone watches this and like she's so wrong. But I think it was like Grand Theft Auto where you can like drive around a city and they're like in New York in Times Square. And the ad wrap is like a Coca-Cola one. And like Coke has paid to be placed in a virtual reality setting. Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, but that's an online racing game that had those,
Yeah, that's like where we're heading. That's kind of the next one that I've heard very entry level questions for, but like that VR in-app ad placements, which is like my brain. It's crazy. But very cool. Very cool. I think that'll be a huge one. Trying to think.
I mean, we have
all the social platforms that we're on. Like I expect if there's not ad placement inventory there, at some point there will be in the future. Just most places are getting that ad inventory. Anything to monetize your inventory. So it is interesting. I'm curious to see what it'll be. I think the VR placements is going to be the next crazy.
The augmented reality with those those what is the thing that Apple came out with, the
Oculus.
lens, like well, no, that
Oh,
Oculus
that's
is
Android.
the video game system, yeah. But there's another Google one. I think they're going to come out with like the
like the Apple came out with like the it's escaping me, where you have like the augmented. It's not augmented. Well, augmented reality, basically headset that you can see through on the front, see somebody's eyes, but you can do like conferencing over it and everything.
Honestly, I think I did see an advertisement for that, or like an article, and I thought it was fake because I was like, this is spooky.
Facebook has the Meta Quest 3 and the Meta Quest 2 that do pretty well. The Meta Quest 3 is the competition for the Apple's version of it, and it's basically this device that would replace your desktop almost. Like, you can have it and you can put up a screen in front of you here, over here.
Yeah.
It's showing you where you can put up like timers over your oven if you're walking around your house with it, so you can just glance over and look at your oven and you're like, oh, there's still time on the oven for what I'm cooking, and you can like just place things different places in your house and it remembers where it is if you're just wearing this giant headset on your face the entire day.
I see it. This is like Black Mirror.
Yeah,
An
exactly.
episode of Black Mirror. So
Yes.
if you guys have seen that, actually, there's an episode of Black Mirror that is like pretty wild with advertising. And I think in like 100 years or something, maybe that will be us, but hopefully we're not there yet.
But yeah. All right. So we can keep going.
I was also just going to do a quick time check. These are just some important questions and things that I have seen success with from agencies and sellers specifically when talking about programmatic. I am a bit over on time, so just wanted to check. Susie, Matt, how you guys are doing?
I think we're great. Yeah, let's go through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have time. Always have time for you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, perfect. We can hop on then into the next slide. This is just very, again, high level, what we can be thinking about as sellers when we're discussing programmatic or marketing media opportunities in general. So this is just a common question that we get. So every advertiser and campaign, of course, are different, but the most successful thing to keep in mind, or the biggest thing to keep in mind for success, is identify the objective of that campaign. That can be as simple as, we want to drive more site traffic to our site, for an example, or we're opening a new shop in this geo, for an example. That is an objective of the buy that will help us align the KPIs that we set for that campaign to ensure success and to gauge how we are doing with our media. So objectives and KPIs prior to that launch will be super, super beneficial for Matt and Susie's team to be aware of and know. If we get a media buy and it gets to them and we don't have a KPI or an objective, we're not in the dark, but we're going to be asking you guys questions of like, okay, who is the target audience? What are we doing with this type of buy? What is the goal here? And it kind of puts us on a back foot if we don't have those directives from your end clients. So objectives and KPIs, any info we can get on those will help Matt and Susie's team plan a successful media strategy for that buy. An important piece of that is defining those campaign parameters, which we'll touch on. So those can be questions like, when are we trying to go live? What is the budget that we're looking to execute for this? Who is our target audience? Do we know anything about them? Defining those parameters that will help us, again, set up the buy for success will be super, super helpful. And then establishing an optimization strategy and timeline. This one, more the post-sale side, obviously. Susie and Matt, feel free. Like, I know you guys are so on top of your buys. I don't know if you guys have official like cadences, but I'm sure your sales team is aware of those conversations. Like, just saying, we'll send you guys like monthly wraps or something like that. So just 3 things to keep in mind while you're talking to them.
Strategy and timelines, those can be, depending on how urgent the needs are. Sometimes we'll set up live, what is it called? Dashboards for them to look at so they can see stuff as it's running. Some other times it's more of like a weekly or even a monthly kind of a optimization look at it. Because some of these APIs take a while to optimize to and things like that. And some clients just don't have any like KPI on their website. sometimes it's hard to judge their KPI, and they're trying to do more of a branding or things like that.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is, foot traffic into the location, and as much as we do have the option to try to link those to our campaigns, it can get a little messy when we do that. So it's really trying to identify and make sure that our clients that we work with are well aware of what we're trying to reach when we're trying to do these KPIs. And the KPIs are not just set like, here's your KPI for the entire client. There's different KPIs for different campaigns. Like every
Absolutely.
campaign will be different. I mean, some of them is like the videos. We're trying to definitely do branding. We want our target audience that we're focused on to try to hit 100% view completion rate. Or we're trying to drive clicks to this specific landing page. Let's do that. And we're trying to drive people to actually do something like scroll on that landing page. Let's make sure we have that conversion, tags set up. It can be a whole bunch of different options, but it's whatever we need to achieve. We try to set up everything so that when we're talking about it afterwards, it all was going to the same place.
Exactly. Yeah, those KPI, like the KPIs and objective is, again, just the most important thing for us to know. If we can get that from a client, that will help us dictate the tactics that we deploy, the KPIs and the levers that we're pulling. We, Matt, Susie, the team running the media, are pulling to ensure we're hitting those KPIs. So really, we'll keep talking about KPIs and objectives there too, because weirdly, I get some confusion between objectives and KPIs. So in short, your objective is, again, kind of the ultimate goal of the KPI, your objective is the ultimate goal of the campaign. And those KPIs, like Matt said, is, for an example, if we want to drive engagement, that's our objective. A KPI that we would be looking at from the media side would be CTR, or your delivery, your impression delivery number. Those are two KPIs that we'll be assessing to ensure we're driving traffic. CTR is indicative of people clicking through and landing on that page that we're driving. So again, the objectives is your client goals. Those KPIs are things that we can set, and it's going to assess and drive our performance there. So I always like to just throw this up very quickly, the difference between objectives and KPIs. And we can hop to the next screen because this is a slide that I wanted to definitely get in front of you guys, just because they're good like thought starters, good questions to be asking when you're in front of an opportunity. Again, the more discovery that we can do will help Matt and Susie with the buy that they end up setting up, just based on what you guys are learning from your clients. So I did highlight kind of the yellow ones here are more so ones for sales that I would like highly, highly recommend that we start asking if we're not already. But yeah, hoping to learn from the campaign that can help you guys figure out that objective, and then we can align those KPIs from there. Target audience, the more we know about an audience, the easier it is for us to set up a buy. Audience targeting, as we talked about, is really strong for programmatic. So the more we know there, the more tactics that we can deploy. How are you going to measure your success? Kind of talking back to those objectives and the KPIs. Like Matt said, sometimes they change mid-flight. That's okay, but sometimes that can be difficult, and that's just a pivot, right? So how are we going to be measuring your success for this campaign? Make sure our KPIs align there, and then our team is off and running, trying to hit those KPIs.
And what's funny, Katie, is a lot of these questions, like we get these, we ask these of our clients all the time whenever we're going to set up a new campaign, a lot of these questions. And just, I mean, looking at these, like once if a client is watching this and you see, and we ask you the question, like, who's your target audience, or what is your allocated budget, or what are you hoping to learn? I'm like, those questions, those answers to those questions can change at any time.
Oh, yeah.
Like we could see that there's an opportunity for a different target audience that you may not be targeting. Like we'll look at targeting those other people, or we may see an opportunity. We'll bring that up. And something that has worked well in the past, may work well again, or it may, not work as well coming forward. With all of, and that's why we keep our ear to the ground with all the trends that are happening in the industry and what's going on and what's changing. Because tactics, especially, and this is going a little deeper, but like tactics like how you set up your website, how, you know, what's your UX, what your what kind of tags you have on the website, how you have things linked. Google is changing stuff all the time, so you've got to keep on top of that and change your site for SEO all the time. Same thing with media. You can't just be like, well, we've run display ads for the past 5 years and it's worked. You know, I mean, could something else work better? Is that
Yeah, you got to freshen it up.
like how does your objectives, because you may have the same objective for 5 years, it's just the tactics may change a little bit to where some may work better now for your objectives than what has happened before. So we always try to keep ahead of that, and the answers will change. So
Yep. Yes. Thank you, Matt. Love that. So yeah, the only one that I would add here, and I almost did, but I didn't know if it was too technical, is what does your website look like, right? Like, are we able to pixel things in here? Is it set up?
If you have a third party that does your CRM that we can't put any pixels on and can't do any conversions to, that's where it comes in, where you're like, when that's one of our biggest problems is when the client comes to us and says, I want to target, you know, purchases, and I'm like, that's great, but they've set up their entire thing with a purchase system that's on, like, if they own the franchise, it sends the people to like the higher company's CRM, and it's all in there, and it's really hard for that person to get any data from that system back to them, so give it to us. And they were like, we need conversions on the back end, and I'm like, well, I can get people to click through to your booking engine or your conversion, you know, system that you have, and then I lose it. So we have to be completely clear with clients as to how far we can get them data, because we can't see on the back end if we don't have access to it.
Exactly. So, yeah. So maybe I'll add that to this slide and send you guys. I don't know if it's too techy, but website setup is important to think about for just a marketing or your media campaign in general. Is what all do we have access to from your site? What are we able to pixel? And like Matt said, do you have any third party that kind of own any pieces of your site or parts of your purchase journey? So yes, perfect. The next slide is the last one that I'll leave us with, and it's kind of just an overview of, again, that marketing funnel. I always love to leave sellers and clients with this slide, just because while you're talking to clients, if you're hearing a push for brand awareness or you're hearing a push for purchases, think of this marketing funnel, and I've listed just some tactics that align well with different stages of this funnel too. So just an overview definitely can lead us to more combos in the future here, but I've always found this slide super helpful to think of different strategies and tactics, you know, that Matt and Susie have at their disposal to help your end clients here with these goals that they may have for media. So with that, I'll leave that slide as the last thing for us. But thank you so much for having me come in and chat with you guys. And I've loved this, and I'm here to help with any questions that might pop up. But Matt and Susie, I'll kick it back over to you guys for anything.
Yeah, well, thanks so much. We're so glad y'all joined us today. I love some of these slides. It really puts it in a really simple perspective, easy to break down and digest, because as we've gone on, we know how technical and in the weeds all of this can get. So it's nice to have a grehave overview.
And we do have one question.
I see. I just saw that.
Oh, yes.
He was asking our viewer. We have a question: is how are y'all looking to do like return on investment or return on that kind of thing for OTT? Because it's getting a little hard, because a lot of OTT is just VCR, where we're saying you're watching the full video completion, or another thing we like to do is we're making sure we're on, you know, quality publishers and good placements and things like that. So we're making sure we're hitting the right people on good OTT channels, so that they're actually watching it. We know that they're watching it, but how do we, you know, keep that going on the back end? Maybe do some like retargeting or things like that with OTT.
Yeah, great question, Ernest. Definitely, ROAS is definitely harder to prove out on OTT. Some things that I see clients utilize, like a KPI, is cost per completed view as well, to try and assess like how much are we spending for completed view. With OTT and CTV, you may be aware, typically we have high completion rates there. So I have seen some people add in those QR codes to assess just performance and engagement on an OTT asset. And to Matt's point, a really common strategy that Basis has actually just rolled out is the ability to capture audiences based on their viewership habits. So for an OTT example, I would set up an OTT audience of 100% completion rate viewers and retarget them with maybe an online video asset that is clickable or a display ad that's clickable. And I can assess, like, is my message on my CTV OTT messaging hitting enough to where I'm retargeting them and they're then engaging with my clickable asset. So that's kind of a strategy that I've been seeing deployed more, is capturing viewers that have seen 100% of your asset and retargeting them with a more engaging format. So a display. Engaging, I mean, one that's clickable at the end of the day. So a display or an online video asset there. But that's a really strong way with one tactic to see how the audience that's seen your CTV OTT ad, how they're actually engaging with your media.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, it's been great. Yeah, and we'll see you guys next time in a couple weeks on Pixels and Points, and hopefully we have you guys back soon. This has been amazing. All right, it's done.